Well, it is the first day of April 2014. A very good evening to you and do welcome to Katie and Brian.
Indeed, many thanks for joining us. And we start off our bulletin this evening with news just in.
Absolutely. A controversial Muslim cleric, Abubakar Sharif Alias Makaburi, has been shot dead by unknown assailants. The attack occurred near the Shanzu law courts in Mombasa.
That's right. We now want to join our Coast Region's senior reporter, Ferdinand Omondi, who has details of this incident from Mombasa. Ferdinand, if you can hear me, tell us what happened.
Good evening. We have actually been here for preparing to cover the devolution conference happening here when we got information from the North Coast that two people had been shot dead right about 6 p.m. right in front of the Shanzu law courts there at Shimo Latewa, and we do have confirmation that one of them is Mohammed Makaburi, the controversial cleric who has been manning the Masjid Musa, which had been changed to Masjid Shahada. Now, the two people were shot by unknown gunmen. Eyewitnesses say that they were actually walkabouts who passed by, shot the people, and then now walked away. We would not have the exact confirmation from official sources, but we do know that Mohammed Makaburi is one of them. The Masjid Shahada, which is formerly known as Masjid Musa, has already made the announcement in their mosque, and as we're speaking, there has been reports of chaos in Majengo area following the announcement. The other information I have from my camera person on the ground is that gunshots have been rent the air around Shimo Latewa area. There was a confrontation between the police and some youth who had demanded to take the bodies away, but I can tell you now that the bodies have now been transferred to the Bamburi police station just along that road. So that's the latest in Mombasa. There is chaos in at least one place amid the announcements that Mohammed Makaburi, the controversial cleric associated with Masjid Shahada, has been shot dead with a friend.
All right, Ferdinand, thank you for that information, especially what's happening in Shimo Latewa. We heard of some chaos in Majengo as well. Can you confirm what the situation is on the ground in Majengo area?
Yes, we do have confirmation that there have been chaos. Of course, that's a mosque where the controversial cleric has been going. And just to give you a little insight, is that Masjid Shada, or the what has also been known as Masjid Musa, has been the headlines for all the wrong reasons. This is the area where a lot of people have been saying, security forces in particular, have been saying has been a major place where the recruitment of people to the terror movement Al-Shabaab has been taking place. Of course, Mohammed Makaburi is now the third cleric from this mosque who has now been shot dead by unknown people. The first happened in 2012 when Abu Drogo, who has been labeled a terrorist and was very, very controversial himself, was shot dead in a drive-by shooting along the Mombasa-Malindi Road. A year later, Mohammed Amour, was late last year, also shot dead. 3 people again along Mombasa-Bamburi Road. And now we have Mohammed Makaburi also shot along the Mombasa-Malindi Road. So it's very, very, the shootings are almost very similar, only that this time it was not a drive-by shooting. And in all these circumstances, there have always been chaos. What has happened normally when this happens, there's been very strong reaction from people on the ground. A lot of youth now, of course, getting very, very, very rowdy or getting very emotional. And what has followed, sad to say, is that some churches have come under attack at the moments like this, and hopefully that the police this time round are already putting enough security measures to man personal property and also other installations. We do expect not just to be a side here, but we do expect this will create a lot of tension in Mombasa, because Mohammed Makaburi is somebody who has been lately speaking a lot and accusing the police of being behind the spate of unknown killings of persons, clerics who have been labeled controversial, and perhaps aiding and abetting acts of terror in Kenya and also in Somalia. And therefore, sometimes also labeled himself somebody who's willing to die. This is something he had said before. And the last interview I did have with him last time when the police officers rather, raided the Masjid Musa to disrupt a convention which had been labeled as a recruitment for terrorism, he supported the mounting of the so-called Al-Shabaab flags the most, saying that there is no law that has outlawed those flags. So he's been somebody who has been really teetering on the brink of very extremist conversations, but at the moment now, there is something that needs to be investigated to find out exactly who did this, and without really preempting, there'll be a lot of solid reaction on the ground, and it's something that will be keeping our watch on. But at the moment right now in Mombasa, particularly Majengo, and I'm getting information also in Kisauni, already tension has risen. Police patrols are being told are going around, and there's a story that now is developing alongside what is happening in Mombasa. And you do remember that only there have been arrests that were conducted following the shooting of at least 4 people in Likoni area. Police said that was a normal attack, but you know, people, other observers say this was a terrorist attack because they went and shot people in church, and that is where the very emotional story of Baby Osinya came up. So this is something that will most likely be linked to the recent spate of attack that came here. Not to say that this person is really a terrorist, but these security operations have labeled this guy as one of the most wanted people and as a sympathizer. And this is a narrative that is most likely to come forth as we try and look at the reason as to why he might have been shot dead. But the killers have not yet been known, and hopefully the police will come up with a very solid investigation.
All right, thank you very much for that, Ferdinand Mundi, who's our senior Coast Region reporter. We now want to get a first-hand account of just what happened when Makaburi was shot this evening, and we want to speak to somebody who was there with him just after leaving the Shanzu law courts. We're speaking this evening with Alamin Kimathi on telephone. Alamin, thank you for joining us this evening. Tell us what happened.
Well, Yvonne, I have a very scanty detailed accounts of what happened. Apart from the fact that I was in court attending the mention of the Masjid Musa case in which 28 people had been arraigned after in the Masjid Musa incident, which occurred in February, and Sharif Abubakar Ahmed Alias Makaburi also happened to be in court, and he came amongst others, and you know, other eyewitnesses or people who had turned up at the court, interested parties as well as relatives, and we had a brief chat outside the court, and mainly his interest was to know when the case would next be heard. There was apparent confusion when the magistrate did not turn up at the court, and we did not have directions about what would happen next. And therefore, Makaburi even appealed to me to check with the court what would be the fate of the accused, most of whom had been granted bail this afternoon and released from custody pending the hearing. And I did exactly that. I went over to check with the magistrate on duty, and I came up to communicate to the accused persons who were then seated somewhere with Makaburi, talking to them, and we did each other farewell. All of them, we decided, everybody took, there were very few cars around, and I remember seeing Makaburi getting into a Noah vehicle with which had about other 6 occupants. I don't really know at what stage he was left behind, because apparently I drove ahead, and since there was no public transport, some of those accused asked for a lift from me, where I dropped them at the Kengeleni Light Junction, only to, as I was getting into town, to start seeing a lot of messages, a lot of calls, people calling me, asking me where Makaburi was, and apparently they had heard the news before me.
All right, thank you very much for this account of just what happened there. And of course, to just ask you, now that you are in the coast region, what is the mood like amongst yourselves and the other people who were there and who last saw him?
Yvonne, it is very, very tense. We were trying most of this evening to access there has been a lot of rumors flying around where the bodies were, and before we could establish that the bodies were still lying on the scene, We were heading to so many directions only to find the roads clogged with traffic as people were leaving mainly the island, apparently in fear of an eruption of possible chaos, which has been characterized past incidences of this, and where Makaburi is not just any other figure. That there are fears. The fears are very rife that there could be possibilities of chaos in the island. And business shut early, very early. The Majengo area, the island itself, and those of us who are heading north, trying to cross the Nyali Bridge, could not. As I'm speaking, I've just only now managed to cross the bridge and heading north, but I couldn't go beyond that and had to retreat and get back, because in any case it was futile to trying to go to the scene where we even had the bodies had already been removed.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Been speaking to Alamin Kimathi, who's an activist and who was with Sheikh Abubakar Sharif Alias Makaburi just before he was shot outside the Shanzu law courts. So let's bring you up to date with what we know. This is what we know right now. Sheikh Abubakar Sharif Alias Mohammed Makaburi, who was leaving the Shanzu law courts today after being in court with 28 other people who were arraigned following that incident at the Masjid Musa in February. He, according to Alamin Kimathi and the others, were waiting for the next court date after the accused were granted bail. According to Alamin Kimathi, Makaburi got into a NOA, and after that, that's when they heard the news that he had been shot dead together with another cleric that's there. We've been hearing from Ferdinand Omondi that gunshots have rent the air in Shimolatewa region. The bodies of the two clerics have been taken to Bamburi police station, and police patrols are also taking place in Kisauni and Majengo areas where tension is high. And of course, Ferdinand Omondi was also pointing out the other clerics that have also been killed, starting with Abu Drogo along the Mombasa Bamburi Malendi highway. This is what we know right now. We'll continue to keep you updated as we get news of this unfolding and developing story.